hello there. I'm sure this is not the face you expected to see when tuning into another episode of Let's Talk Money with Wendy Silebi. I'm definitely not Umama Wendy. My name is Kinalma Bashman, and it is an absolute pleasure, an honor, and my privilege to be sitting down with established author, experienced author, who's released a book called I Wish Someone Had Told Me. We're celebrating 1 year with this book in stores, hopefully in your library at home, and you having had a great experience in Umama's financial nuggets in this book. So this is what this episode is about, and that's exactly what we're going to delve into right now. Mama, hello.
Hello, Kinalma.
How are you?
I'm good. It's so weird to be on the other side.
I can imagine.
I'm so used to being the one, asking the questions. So, I'm looking forward to this
Awesome.
experiment.
Let's start right at the beginning, Mama. I wish someone had told me. It's been a year. I'm sure throughout the year you've had episodes where you have spoken about the book. People know about the book. But I think from a personal perspective, let's go down memory lane. Why did we write this book? I wish someone had told me.
Yeah, I wrote this book, and as I share in the book, I worked for a financial institution for 37 years, and I made so many financial mistakes. I mean, wow. And I think I've written about some of them in the book. And also, I was the executive for financial wellness. I did a lot of financial literacy, education, consumer financial education. I've traversed the length and the breadth of the country, teaching people about finances at different levels.
Yeah.
And as I was doing that, I picked up with there are so many challenges around finances and probably especially in this age group of baby boomers, that's us, about 60s, 59s and so on. But also I then became head of staff banking at the bank, and in my interactions with staff members I also picked up a gap around that. I thought, you know what? Why don't I just write a book and just talk about the mistakes that I've made, so that someone else who is probably where I was 20, 25 years ago can gain some wisdom nuggets and be 10 steps ahead of me and not make those mistakes that I've made. So another thing, Kinama, is that people don't like talking about math.
Yeah.
We love being out there. People must know and think, Wuti, we've got it together. So, look at how beautiful you and I are with our lipsticks and everything. But people don't see only what they see. They don't know what's happening behind the scenes in terms of your finances. And so as I was going about doing motivational talks, speaking to people about money, I would see how they would fold their hands and say, you know what, talk to me if you can. And I thought, it's so difficult to tap into people. Let me rather talk about myself, write about myself. Then people will be able to see working for the financial institution for 37 years does not make you a financial expert. It's a skill that you have to learn. It's a skill that you have, and it's wisdom, knowledge that you need to acquire, but more than anything, to implement.
Fantastic. Now, Mama, you talk about your 37 years with this banking institution you were with, but from what I read in the book, the seeds weren't just planted from Wrapup in these 37 years of you being financially literate and knowing exactly what it is that you're meant to do, how to do it, and when to do it in order to have a healthy financial life. I read in the book that your dad had a significant part to play in how financially you've turned out. Talk to me a bit about your dad's influence.
So my dad's influence, I can say, was both positive and negative. And I think I wrote about it because I wanted parents who read the book to understand the impact they can have on their children's lives, especially when it comes to their finances. Because, you know, as parents, we want our children to do well. We want them to be this, that, and the other. But we don't show them the way. So my dad, I mean, he drove the best car, that brand that exists, which is the brand I drive now. And I can't drive any other car. So as an example, they would tell me that this is the only brand of a car that you must be driving. But he never told me, Uguti, if I wanted, what must I do to achieve it? You know, what financial principles must I implement? But I think the biggest thing about my dad that I loved the most is that he would speak what he wants to see in my life.
Yeah.
My father was not one who, you know, was into the Bible and whatever. But you know that scripture that says we speak things that are not as though they are and they become. My dad would say that if I bought a small house, you know, just a normal house, he would then tell his friends, did you see my daughter's house? My daughter bought a mansion. I'm thinking, why is he talking like that, you know? And when I was still, a teller at the bank, she would brag and tell his friends, do you know my daughter is a bank manager? No, now his friends had businesses. And he would say to them, do you know that my daughter can repossess your shop and sell it back to you again? I would always think, why is he saying that?
Yeah.
And later, in hindsight, I realized, my dad was literally prophesying over my life, the things that he wanted to see. And what happened is that then they lodged in my subconscious mind. So as I was doing life, I was pursuing everything that he had said, but with no financial plan.
Hectic. Now, for those of you who haven't as yet bought the book, I'm sure in just these few snippets you've already heard, you definitely also want some of these nuggets to be implanted in your heads so that you can go forth and prosper in your financial health as well. So do go and get the book if you don't already have it. Now, Mama, I want us to go through the forwards in your book. The very special book is got 2 forwards, not just one. 2 forwards. The first one, it's from, let me get my notes proper here. We've got the adult development and leadership psychologist, Dr. Mavis Mazura. Now, she describes your book in page 9. I want to read it to you. This is why I say this is going to be a chat and not an interview. See how unprepared I am. In page 9, she says, this book, I wish someone had told me, is a testament that as long as you're still dealing with money, whether you're repaying debt, you're still dealing with money. Whether you're earning it, whether you're managing it, investing it, or protecting it, you can never say that you have read enough books on personal finance. With each page of this book, there's always something to learn or a reminder of a principle you may have forgotten or taken for granted. It serves as a reminder that even our professions cannot protect us from personal finance ignorance. And I want to go back to that because you mentioned that a bit earlier on. Tell me about some of the professional financial ignorances that you came across in the 37 years that you were with the financial institutes, that you thought, I work at the bank. I've had all of this experience. Surely I should have known better.
Yeah. So I think the first one that I want to talk about, before I do that, Mavis is just an amazing person, Dr. Mavis to me. And she has shaped the way I thought about money because I never knew before I met her that emotions have got something to do with money. And just her take on things, I just got hooked on her and I loved her. And I thought, this is somebody that I want in my life that will speak into my life and help me. And she shaped my journey and I'm ever grateful to her. So anyway, one of the things is that, you know, when you work as a bank employee, every time there's a new law that comes into place, we are the first ones to learn about them and so on, you know, compliance and all of that. And when I was head of staff banking and I was working with other staff members, so what we used to do is to process their applications on their behalf. The bank was so gracious to say, we don't want our staff members worrying about, I want a home, I want a car, I want a credit card. So my team would do that.
Okay.
And what took me back was every time somebody's loan account or home loan or car was declined, they would go into a flat spot.
Sure.
And they would say, but I've been working here at the bank for 25 years. My pension is here. You know, they've got maybe 15 million of my money is here. Why would they decline me? Then I was taken aback. I was like, hey, it means every time we go through some of these compliance and some of these laws, it's not for us.
Yeah.
It's for the clients. So we don't see ourselves, these clients, we don't see them apply it to us. So I then thought, wow, I need to then go on an education journey to engage the staff members. You know, obviously it was not all staff members. So that's a disclaimer before the people come for me. But, you know, I just thought, let me go on a road show and just engage them around credit. My first workshop for Nedbank staff was on credit. And we were just speaking about what credit is. And I took credit managers with me for them to explain, Gucci, when they sit with your application form, what are the 3 important things that they look at that would bring them to either an approved or declined decision. And that is how I then realized, there's a lot of work, there's a lot of education that we need to do just to empower ourselves and really not to go through stuff for other people, but for ourselves. Yeah, because, you know, you can read a book and say, yeah, we're going to tell Kinalma I've seen she overspends. What about you? You know, check yourself first. Yeah.
Sure. Now, Mama, in the book, you go through various themes and various chapters, some of them that I wanted to highlight in your book, Understanding Money Beliefs and Behaviors, Establishing Financial Vision and Purpose, Budgeting and Spending Plans. Now, some of the chapters in the book, it seems to me that you focused a lot on personal finance and relatable topics that people could really not only just read, but implement in their lives. Why did you specifically choose the kind of themes and chapters that you did for the book?
Yeah, but that's such a great question because, as I've said to you, Gucci, I was the head of consumer financial education. So I did a lot of education that was focused on people who were previously financially excluded. So we did a lot of work in the deep rural communities, and then we did it in the urban and peri-urban areas. And then I realized, you know, in all this education that we've been doing and over the years, there are subjects we don't touch on.
Yeah.
For example, your purpose. Who talks about their financial purpose? I had never heard that. Your big why, your vision for your finances. So I chose topics that I believed were a gap. There was a gap around those particular topics, Wuti. You know, when you read the book, I do talk about how when you are born, your parents don't sit you down and say, you know why you were born. There's no such conversation. All they tell you is you must go to school, get a good education. When you've got it, they say get married. When you are married, they say have children. Why? You know, nobody ever gives us, you know, a big why to answer, so that even with your finances, when you start work, you know, somebody must talk to you to say, you've got to have a financial vision for your finances. What do you want to see yourself achieving? And that's why I chose some of those topics. I was plugging the gaps that I identified. Yeah.
Now, earlier on, I mentioned that Mama not only has forward in her book. She doesn't have one, she's got two. But before I go to the second one, written by Uputskiwe Moyo, an organizational behavioral specialist. Mama, you mentioned, I think I've heard you mention it twice, the relationship between parents and children and money. Why is that such an important topic for you?
It is such an important topic for me because growing up, my dad didn't have those conversations. On my maternal side, I could see that everybody's doing well. We're doing well, man. Hey, everything is good here. But they're retired. How are they affording this? But as a child, you're afraid to ask, but you can see good, things are looking good. So, for me, it was something that became intriguing. Our parents never sat down with us to talk to us until at my 50th birthday. I think that was late, but it was good. It was good for, my aunt to bring that. Yeah. So one of the things that one of the great ladies that I really like, her name is Gugu Sidaki. She writes children's books. And I was interviewing her for the podcast, and I asked the Oguti, why does she write books for children and not for adults? And she shared something with me. She said, no, the money relationship that children have, with finances is shaped between the ages of 2 and 7.
Sure.
So children watch what their parents are doing, listen, and they look at the situation at home, and that forms their context, And so for me, it's something that I would love for parents to do, having conversations about money with their children, because that will shape who they become. Yeah. As an example, when I took that money quiz to check my money personality, wow, I came out as a carer. And, the doctor that wrote those personalities for the bank, she says, you also need to look at psychologically. Why do we behave the way that we behave towards money? So I'm a carer, these people that will go all out for everybody but themselves. And one of the things that I've had to pause and reflect on is, why am I a people pleaser? Why am I willing to give off all my money for other people? What is it? What is this thing that makes me to be a pleaser? So that's why it's so important for me. But also I want to believe, Uti, we need to know our relationship with money from an early age, so that even when we get into that stage where we find a partner and whatever, it is the first thing that we think about. Hey, I must check, how compatible am I with my partner? What are our personalities? Is this not going to cause friction in the relationship? And actually, if you also know the personality yabantwana as they're growing up, you are able as a parent to understand why this one behaves this way and why this one behaves that way. So it's really a lot in there.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned partly as you were answering that question about your aunt at your 50th birthday. I'm going to go back to that. But I did say we're going to talk about the second forward from Uputskiwe Moyo. In your book, he writes, Willie Silibi's I Wish Someone Had Told Me is not just a book. It's a guide, a mentor, and a companion on the journey of financial enlightenment. Her ability to distill complex financial concepts into relatable stories and actionable advice makes this book a must-read for anyone seeking holistic understanding of their financial journey. Loved that. Let's talk about your financial journey. We're going to go back and forth.
Yeah.
You are 37 years in at Nedbank. What is your journey like as you are working? Financially, that is.
My journey was good, as I was working. I remember even before they brought in the National Credit Act, we had access to credit. credit was available. And if you work for a bank as well, it's so much easy for you to access credit. You can get everything that you need, especially because they also give us preferential rates. I mean, the benefits are amazing. And so if you are exposed to credit, but you don't know how to manage it, then you find yourself in that zone where you're now over indebted.
Yeah.
And I've been over indebted. I found myself in that zone because e-credit was there. And as I've got a chapter that talks about credit gluttony, e-credit imnandi, iyakheha. It calls you, as you buy this car, you're thinking, why not get the shoes here at home with it? Why not get, I just bought a home. Why not get the things that go with the home? And credit is there. Hey, let's use this credit. But you're not aware of is that, you are getting in. And of course, in your head, and as you do your calculations without even writing them down, you're telling yourself, this car, the installment is 4,000. This house, the installment is 6,000. My take home is 15,000. 10,000 will pay those things. I'll live on 5,000. But there are other things that are hidden costs that you didn't think about. So I found myself there. So I love talking about credit because I found myself in that spiral. And then to get out is a mission.
I was attached on that. So you find yourself in the spiral where, as educated, financially educated as you are, you still find yourself overly indebted. How do you get yourself out?
I think the most important thing is for you to get to a place where you say, hi, Ziabuya, I'm over indebted. And you get to that point where you acknowledge. It's so critical for you to acknowledge. I think that's why even people who go to AA, the first thing is to acknowledge, Guti, I need help. I'm here, I need help. So I had to get to a point where I thought, this is not sustainable. Something is wrong. Let me see where I'm going. And of course, you ask others, and you look at others that are doing well. We have a booze and Jenny style. If you are, don't want to be too overt about it, you ask them, how are you doing this? And, there's a friend of mine, that I love. She's here today, to share her insights about the book. She used to say, "Mina ngbolisani ngemali, and angithengi ingulube again. Should I don't buy something that I have not seen, that I am not sure about." And she is very clear, which I'm not competing with anyone. So I listened to the things that she's saying, and I was taking things there, and I was watching other people that are doing well. I had this friend who was a penny pincher. She was keeping and hoarding all the money. So you start looking and thinking, Nami, I need to learn from them. And of course, I started reading and digging deeper. And then I started implementing what I was reading in order to get myself out of there.
What is happening in your life where you had this personal epiphany at your birthday with your aunt telling you to make sure, now that you're 50, have some personal reflections. Where are you financially? How's your life looking like? The next couple of years, what are they going to look like for you? What happens to you then?
Yay. What happens to me is that at the party, I was like, okay, I listened to all these speeches. Okay, man, come Monday. I'm like, hey, Yazin, hey, let me just check how I think, And of course, I contacted my pension or provident funds, company. Now ask them to send me a statement, which if I were to retire now, what would things look like? And of course, how they send it, it has got 3 lights there. Green means you're good. Amber says
Bit of trouble.
Yeah. And then red said, hey, Shubi. And of course, when they send mine, EBT red. I'm 50, 10 years to 10. I went into a depressive mood.
Sure.
And I mean, it's, how the mind works. And the mind started, and I started hearing these voices. It went, you have to sell your car, sell your home, you have to downgrade, you have to do this. And I'm thinking, Kosiam, people know me to be this education guru. How can I be in the red? And of course, for about a week or two, I was depressed. Yeah. You know, I wasn't even eating well. I think I lost the vegetables. Hey! And then I decided, no, man, let me talk to one of these financial planners. We had this good financial planner. So we to him. He says, what's wrong? You don't look happy. I'm like, yeah, things are bad. And I'm showing this. He says, what they were showing you here was the worst case scenario. You
Not necessarily your personal stage.
Yes, and immediately I said, please, can I get something to eat? Because, well, I haven't eaten for 2 months, for 2 months, etc. 2 weeks or so. But I think for me, it was really a wake up to say, actually, he says to me, no, we are good. And actually, if you want to ramp up, you can do that. So that was also a great conversation because he said, you are fine, but we can still do something in these 10 years to ramp up everything. So in a way, it was a good opportunity for me just to have that conversation. Yeah. What am I trying to say here is that, if you are investing towards your retirement, just do a review every year, also every 2 years. Do a review with a professional financial planner so that where you can ramp up, because there's never enough money when you're on retirement.
Right. Now, in the book, Mama, you mentioned that was where the seed was planted for this book. I wish someone had told me at your 50th. It was subsequently released last year. What was the main aim in releasing the book? What exactly did you want people to get from this book?
I wanted people to get the wisdom that I share and the insights. To say it's never too late for you to can correct, or it's never too late for you to can build.
Yeah.
It's never too late for you to can just pause and look at your finances and really do something about it. I think sometimes people will say, it's too late. I'm now 50. What's the point? You've got 10 years if you are retiring at 60. If at 63, if you've got 13 years, if at 65, there's still so much that you can do. So I think that's what I wanted people to get. Uguti, it's never too late for you to can fix your finances and really achieve that initial freedom that we also want you to attain, and that there are principles that we need to follow. There are skills that we need to acquire. There's knowledge we require to manage our finances. You can't just do it without the skills, the knowledge, and also to understand that there are consequences for every financial decision that you make.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, everything we're talking about is mentioned in the book. So if you have not as yet gotten the book, I suggest you hurry on down to your nearest bookstore or contact Mama. The details will be in the description box of this episode, how you can get your own copy of I Wish Someone Had Told to Me. Now, Mama, in this book, with the main chapters and the themes that we've got, and you just told us exactly what you wanted people to get from this book, the financial nuggets, and all of the wisdom that you're caught in. We're here to celebrate the year of the book's release. Do you think the message has gotten through, at least in these last 12 months?
Definitely the message has gone through. I've received so much positive feedback and negative, by the way. I've gone to book clubs where they sat down with me, this group of people that are very honest, and they've given me feedback. And I think what's important is that we need to be open to receive feedback. So I've had feedback where, they could have said, you could have done better here, you could have said this, and I appreciate that. But mostly I've had positive feedback where people are saying, I read your book, and I've started implementing And what a book, simple things that, and maybe also I've had feedback where people are saying, you and us, we are saying WhatsApp group, we can relate when it comes to financial issues. So I've had a lot of great feedback.
Okay. You say you go to book clubs, Mama. If a person is watching and they'd like to get a hold of you, and maybe there's a financial talk or financial event that they would like you to host, are you open to doing those?
I do them all the time. I'm open. They can go to my website. They can contact me there. It's www.wendysilebe.co.za. The book is there. Our podcast content is there. My email address is there. My details are there. Even my cell phone number, so they can contact me there.
Okay. Now, off camera, we're talking about something. I'm not quite sure if we can talk about it on camera. We're celebrating a year of the book's release and the many amazing things the book has done. You're mentioning right now you do talks, you do events about financial literacy. I've read the book. I want to change my life. I want to have a better financial life. I want to have a healthy financial life. What do I do in context with the thing we're talking about off camera? What do I do after I have read the book?
Yeah. So one of the things that I picked up is that, we read a lot of financial books. And after we've read them, there's a gap between our intention and the action. So I thought, no, man, let me do a workbook. So I've just finished the workbook so that after you've read the book, there is an action book or like a manual that will help you implement some of the things. For example, when we talk about your spending plan and stuff like that, provide you with a budgeting tool that you can use, to make this practical.
Okay.
So that's what I've just completed. I'm still finishing it off, doing my final touches there. It should be out soon.
Okay, that's the workbook in the works. Hopefully we're going to come back and talk about that. And not to put the pressure on you, Mama, but now that you're an accomplished author, one book down, how many more to go?
3 to 4 to go. By the way, Mavis, who wrote my foreword, and Spiwe. I think Spiwe is on his 6th or 7th book, and so is Mavis. So I can't be in such great company and be a one-hit wonder. So I have to write more books.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mama, and congratulations once again. I am hoping people have gotten absolutely every single part of you that you have poured into this book. And once the workbook comes out, they will be able to give us the evidence that they've read the book and they've put it into practice in their lives for healthier financial lives. One last word from you, Wendy Silebe, the author.
I'd like to thank everyone that bought my book. There are special people I'd like to mention. For example, there's a lady called Sehobo Gaba. She was the first person to buy my book in bulk.
Yeah.
She bought 60 copies. Sure. And Dr. Frank Magwegwe, he bought 40 books. He lectures at Gibbs and he gave the book to his students. And many other people that has bought. What I found to be a blessing is that people were not buying one book. They were buying 7, 5, 4. So I'd like to say thank you to everyone. And that was the purpose of us also having this conversation. It's just for me to pause and to say thank you. If it had not been for you, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have had the many reprints I've had and the many copies that I've sold.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Here's to hoping you will enjoy this episode, and when you get your book, you will enjoy it too. My name is Kinalma Bashman. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Money with Wendy Silebe.